I've always wanted to do that. Welcome to Movie Mogul 101. I'm Walt Whitmore, and I am your novice. That's right, I'm your novice. And Movie Mogul 101 is just like it sounds. It's going to be a real time journey in terms of me, a novice, going from that of to a movie maker. This is not going to be a highlight reel because I don't know anything. I'm starting with pure intentions. That's right, pure intentions. Pure intentions on learning and pure intentions on sharing this journey with you, those that are interested. I'm going to start with just one platform. I'm going to start on YouTube, and it's going to be one episode at a time. I have some familiarity with that of social media and other platforms, but I'm going to wait, get my feet up underneath of me, develop a real persona, get better with the video production and that type of thing. And then I'll branch out, do some Instagram, and I'll even, kick out some more episodes, maybe 2 or 3 a week. But I promise you, I will be dropping one episode a week, except for this week. Well, actually, I'm going to drop one next week, which will be in a couple days, and it'll play off of this one on today's initial episode. So, but after that, it's going to be one a week, and I'm going to be consistent with it. I can tell you what Movie Mogul 101 will not be. It's not going to be a gossip center. I'm not getting into that. I'm not gossiping about individuals in the industry and what's going on, not gossiping about politics, none of that kind of stuff. I'm not clout chasing. I'm not doing that. I'm certainly not jocking. I'm going to respect the craft. And I'm going to learn this thing, and I'm going to share as I move along. Now, when we think about where we are in this industry in terms of with AI, automation, and all of the technology that's out of there and that's out today, filmmaking is kind of trendy. It really is because, you can really jump off into it with a little bit of equipment, very little experience, and you can make some things happen. Well, this is not a trend for me. This is a calling. And it comes a point in a person's life where it becomes more expensive to avoid that calling than it is to actually answer that calling. So I'm answering the call, because when we think of stories, stories actually shape us. They shape the culture. And certainly stories have shaped me. And one of those stories is Cooley High. Yep, 1975. What Michael Schultz and Eric Monti did. Michael Schultz was the director, and Eric Monti he was the creator, the writer. And it was based on his life in terms of Chicago. It was authentic, and it has endured for 50 years. It has actually created a cult following, which obviously I'm part of that cult, no doubt. Well, even though I am a raw dog novice, I have done some things. I'm a writer. I've written several screenplays. Um, in fact, I've written a TV serial binge-worthy drama, prestige crime drama entitled Without Prejudice, and I'm actively pitching it as we speak. And for those of you that are writers, you know that 90% of writing is rewriting. I have rewritten Without Prejudice in terms of, because I have a screenplay version, 120 pages, and I have the pilot, which is 60 pages. I've rewritten both of those at least 10 times each. And I'm, in fact, in the midst of rewriting the the TV series as we speak right now. So I'm going to be transparent throughout this entire process in terms of the ups and downs, the rejection letters, and the obvious triumphs that will be coming, no doubt. One of the first projects that we're going to work on together is that I'm going to create a trailer, a sizzle reel, for Without Prejudice. I'm going to create a sizzle reel. This came about when I heard what happened with the creator behind that of the TV series Bel Air. I think his first name is Morgan, but at any rate, in his hometown, he was a videographer. He was doing weddings, commercials, that type of thing. And then he came up with the idea, boom, what if I go ahead and I create a trailer for what I believe would be a hit as it relates to Bel Air? So that's what he did. He created the trailer. He got some actors. He wrote out the script. Boom, he shot it, released it on the internet. Next thing you know, it goes viral. Before you know it, he's in Miami, Florida, on the set of Bad Boys, Bad Boy 3, because that's where Will was shooting Bad Boys. And the next thing you know, it's history. So that's my next move. That's the project that we're going to chronicle after we get beyond these first 1, 2, 3 episodes in terms of launching Movie Mogul 101. Now, I'm a realist. I'm 65 years young. That's right. You know, I know that I'm going into an industry that's dominated by 20, 30-year-olds. I'm not fooling myself, but at the same time, I'm not intimidated either. I'm not apologizing for my age, not at all. And I can tell you this, regardless of what happens with Without Prejudice, my TV series, whether it gets green lighted or whether it gets put into the circular file cabinet or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't make a difference. Because I'm creating my own universe. I'm not waiting for permission. That's right. Like Tim Reed. You remember Tim Reed with WKRP in Cincinnati. His character was Venus Flytrap. He started before Tyler in terms of he created a studio. That's right. And needless to say, look what Tyler Perry has done. They didn't wait on permission. They didn't wait on Hollywood. They didn't wait on to be green lighted. And I'm not waiting either. Not at all. What you can expect from this right here in terms of Movie Mogul 101 and the emphasis behind it is that I believe that if those individuals, the Tyler Perrys, the Michael Schultz, the Tim Reeds, the Eric Montes, if they had chronicled their journey, their success journey, and not just, after Tyler has made it, but I mean, during those sketchy years, during those years when he was sleeping in his car, during those years when the play wasn't selling, just how valuable would that have been for us as novice filmmakers to be able to see something like that, how inspiring that would have been. Well, they didn't do it, but I am. So that's the emphasis behind Movie Mogul 101. As I said, I promise you I'll be dropping one a week, but I will be dropping another one at the beginning of next week, which is only a couple days from now. And episode 2 is going to really go into what inspired me to be a storyteller. My mama said that I was a storyteller for a very, very long time. I told a lot of stories. but really, I want to talk about what inspired me and what movie inspired me, which you probably have a great guess at what movie that was. And then episode 3, I'm going to talk about my trip to Chicago, Illinois, and the opportunity that I had when I met none other than Jackie Taylor, who actually starred in Cooley High. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be honest in terms of this journey, and I'm inviting you along. Movie Mogul 101. Class begins now. I love this thing.